Gentlemen, what is going on today? My name is Ryan Mickler. I'm your host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. Welcome here and welcome back. Today, I want to share with you a very quick message. This one's a bit off the cuff, but it's something I've been thinking about since the beginning of the year, because I had a theme starting in the beginning of the year of something that I wanted to personally improve upon, and that was telling the truth. Not that I was lying everywhere I go, but being more truthful about the way I feel and sharing things that might be conflicting to other people or might present some difficult or uncomfortable conversations. I'm going to share with you how this has gone over the past several months and explain to you why I think it's important that we as men learn to tell the truth more effectively, how it can serve us, what some of the pitfalls might be, and ultimately why it's so important that we do learn to be truth tellers. Before I get into that, guys, real quick, we've got a huge giveaway going on right now. We're really trying to boost and promote the visibility of the Order of Man podcast, and we're in the top 20 of the business podcasts in the world, which is a huge, huge accomplishment considering the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of podcasts that are out there. So I want to thank you for that. It's not enough for me. I want to break the top 10. I want to get this message to the masses. I want this movement to become a household name. And part of the strategy behind doing that is bumping up our ratings and reviews. So what we're doing on February 28th, 2022 is doing a huge giveaway. If you leave an iTunes or an Apple Podcast rating and review, I'm giving away a signed copy of our book, Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men. We're giving away an Origin USA sourced and made heavy hoodie and a brand new pair of boots by Origin. We're giving away a Speed Goat, a Magna Cut stainless steel Speed Goat knife by Montana Knife Company. And we're also giving away a pair of 50-pound center mass bells from Sorinex. So guys, these are companies that are making everything 100% made and sourced in America. I support these guys. Obviously, they support what we're doing here. The way that you enter this contest is leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, etc. Take a screenshot of the rating and review that you leave and email that to brandy@orderofman.com. So again, iTunes rating and review, take a screenshot of it, email that screenshot to Brandy, BRANDY @orderofman.com, and you're entered. We're doing the giveaway or the drawing on February 28th at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time. All right, guys, let's talk about telling the truth. So I mentioned to you that I made a goal of mine, or a theme is probably the best way to put it, of just being very truthful in all of my interactions. And I did that at the beginning of the year. And I usually do that per quarter. I come up with a theme, whether it's telling the truth or discipline, or, physical fitness, like whatever the theme is, I come up with a theme for the quarter. And so for this quarter, it was all about telling the truth, because frankly, there's been times in my life where I wouldn't say that I necessarily lied, but I withheld the truth. I withheld the way that I feel about things. And when I say truth, I'm actually talking about truth with a lowercase t. I'm not talking about objective truth. I'm talking about your perspective, your opinion, what's on your mind. And trust me, guys, I know there's a huge difference between truth and opinion, truth and perspective. You'll never hear me say my truth as a logical, coherent thought, because there is no my truth. When I'm saying truth in this case, is what I'm saying is sharing your opinion, your perspective, what's on your mind. It's crucial that we do that, because I think generally most men are afraid to do that. We'll talk a big game and we'll pretend like we're badasses and everything else. But at the end of the day, like how often have you been withholding information or withholding the way that you feel about a certain scenario? So to give you an example, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but over the past couple of weeks, I've had some very, we'll call them uncomfortable business conversations with quite a few people. And these are conversations that I didn't want to have, that I don't look forward to having. but they've been on my mind and they've been bothering me lately. And normally what I would do is push those feelings down, subdue those thoughts and those ideas, and not really want to have any sort of confrontation with anybody else. But again, I made a commitment that I was going to tell the truth, talk about how I feel with people. And if something's bothering me, I was going to bring it up. So again, over the past several months, I've had some serious conversations that have been looming over me that I really didn't want to have, but I decided to have them. And I can tell you that over the past several months, having these types of conversations has been very liberating for me. It's emboldened me. It's built my confidence. It's released some pressure that I've had, or some negative thoughts that I've had about people, because I've made the decision to, instead of just well it up inside, to actually have these types of conversations. And I think this is what men do. We address hardship and confrontation head on. We don't hide from it. We don't shirk it. And we don't say that about ourselves. Like, we don't say, well, I'm hiding from confrontation. Right? What we do is we justify it. We say, I'm not going to bring that up because, like, what's the bother? What's, like, nothing's going to come of it. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But really, I think for the most part, we're afraid, right? We're afraid of having those conversations because they're uncomfortable. They're awkward. You don't know what's going to come of those conversations. But as I've done this as an exercise over the past roughly 60 days now, I've realized that not only is it valuable for me to be able to express what's on my mind, but it's also valuable for the other person so they can know exactly where I'm coming from. If something's bothering me with the way my wife, for example, is showing up, I need to communicate that with her. Right? If it's bothering me, I'm going to act on the way that I feel about it. And it's not right. And it's not fair to her if I don't communicate that with her and give her an opportunity to see where I'm coming from. And so it is awkward. It is uncomfortable. It is confrontational in many instances. But over the past several months, the dozens of conversations that I've had that I've been putting off have overwhelmingly been positive. In fact, there hasn't been one conversation that's been negative because I've been willing to express what's on my mind. And that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to tell the truth about how you feel, about what's bothering you, about what's keeping you up at night, about what's frustrating you. There's so many men who want to share things about the way they see politics or the way they have a relationship with their wife or their business dealings. And they just well all that stuff up inside. And then they have the audacity to be frustrated and upset that nobody sees it their way. Guys, open your mouth and share the truth. So how does this manifest itself? Well, number one, you're going to start listening to how you feel about what's going on in the environment around you. A lot of guys will just say, well, I'm angry, I'm pissed, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm mad, I'm whatever. And then they don't give a second thought about why that's the case. Maybe if you are willing to tell yourself the truth, you'll start to unpack and discover and explore why it is you feel the way that you feel. All right. You're going to show up for yourself. You're also going to show up for the people that you're trying to lead. If you're not willing to have uncomfortable conversations with the people you're trying to lead, you're actually doing them a disservice. Because you're not talking to them about what they need to know and learn and hear in order to improve themselves. It's crucial that we as leaders open our mouths and express our feelings and our thoughts without judgment. I don't think we need to be judgmental. There's a couple of conversations I've had just in the past week or so where, initially I may have judged somebody and I tried to subdue that. And I wasn't going to have conversations, but I reached out to that person and said, no, this is what's bothering me. And here's why it's bothering me. I don't think less of you, but I want to express myself and tell you what's on my mind. And those conversations have gone over overwhelmingly good and productive and helpful. And we both walk away with a mutual understanding and more respect for each other. And that's one of the greatest fears I think men have, is that if you tell the truth about how you feel about politics or how you feel about somebody's performance or how you're not getting what you feel like you deserve or what you need, that somehow that's going to undermine our ability to lead effectively. Guys, it isn't. In my experience, it's going to foster and bolster trust and confidence and credibility and influence that you have with the people that you're trying to lead and the people that you want to serve. Tell the truth to other people. Now, one of the pitfalls that I see a lot of men fall into is they think that because I'm telling you to tell the truth and because you have a desire to tell the truth, that you just get to go run your mouth. Okay, that's different, right? I'm not suggesting that you need to offer unsolicited feedback to somebody. You need to be very, very careful with unsolicited feedback, because in what universe has unsolicited feedback ever been appreciated? And there's stuff that you don't have any right to get into other people's business about. Okay. So, if you're offering unsolicited feedback to people, or you don't have a right to have those conversations with people, like I get messages quite often from individuals who say, well, Ryan, you should do this and you should do that. And the reason you're doing this is because, you're a loser or you failed or whatever. Okay. Look, I mean, maybe you're speaking what's on your mind and on your heart, but what makes you think that I'm even open and receptive to that if you're going to come across that way? All right. And it's not just me, it's the other people that you're trying to lead. Like, you haven't earned the right to do that. Now, there's other people in my life who can reach out to me and say, hey, Ryan, like, man, I think you're screwing up. I think that thing you said or that thing you were talking about was a little off base. From my perspective, here's what I would suggest, or here's how it came across. But those individuals have earned the right. They're in the position to do it. They have the authority to do it, and they've earned the right to have those conversations with me. So be very, very careful with unsolicited feedback. And then also be very careful of just dumping all of your baggage onto other people and saying they're at fault, they're wrong, they're stupid, they're morons, whatever. And instead, just talk about the way that you feel. So if somebody says something negative about you, and I've had this situation where people have said things negative about me, people that are in my circle, where I'm like, oh, I'll just let it slide. Like, no. I'm going to bring that up. And so I reached out to individuals and I've said, hey, you said this thing about me, and I'm having a hard time understanding, again, not judgmental, but having a hard time understanding why you would say that when you and I have had deep conversations about what we're talking about. Help me understand where you're coming from. And that confrontation is not comfortable for a lot of guys. It's not comfortable for me, but I've gotten better at it. I've improved. And when we walk away from those conversations, to reiterate the point I was making earlier, we walk away with a newfound level of respect for each other. And I've created boundaries in my life. I've communicated those boundaries, and then I've upheld them with individuals who I feel like have crossed those boundaries. But if I make these covert contracts about, hey, that guy shouldn't say this or do this or act that way, or my kids shouldn't behave this way, or my wife shouldn't treat me this way, but I'm unwilling to communicate those things with her or them, that's my fault that they continue to step over the line, because they don't know where the line is. They don't know what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable. And you might say, well, they should just know. Well, they don't. They don't just know. So we need to be men, and we need to communicate those things. And we also need to ensure that if we have beef or issue with somebody, that we don't go around those individuals and backstab them and talk ill of those people, but that we speak the truth about the way that you feel about things, and you address those people specifically. Now, there's one other element of this that I really, really want to address, and that's speaking the truth to yourself. Because we have an incredible ability to deceive who we are and how we individually are showing up. We'll jump to all sorts of conclusions about why somebody else is doing what they're doing, and how they're a loser, and how they're an idiot, and why they suck. those are the things that we'll do. And we won't afford them any sort of grace, any sort of comprehension or nuance or understanding or even empathy towards that individual. But we'll do something in our own lives that we know is wrong, that we know we shouldn't be doing, behavior we know we shouldn't be engaged in, and we'll make up all sorts of justifications and rationalizations and excuses as to why that behavior is okay. So you'll excuse your own poor performance, but you're going to hold that judgmental card over somebody else. Guys, the first step to growth and progress in our lives is to be truthful about the reality of our current situation. If, for example, in your mind and in your heart and in your soul, you know you need to get in shape, the first thing you need to do is probably get on a scale and look at the scale, the objective truth about your scenario. It's not comfortable. Like, you don't want to crystallize. You don't want to make tangible the fact that you're 50 or 80 or 100 pounds overweight. Why would you want to do that? But telling the truth requires you do that. You don't want to jump on your bank account and see that you're negative 60, 70, 80, $200,000 in debt. Why would any human being want to do that? But if we've committed ourselves to telling the truth, then the first step is to have an objective look at where we are. Not to beat ourselves up, not to call ourselves losers, not to say that we're pieces of shit, but to say, this is where I'm starting from objectively. I'm $100,000 in debt. I'm 60 pounds overweight. If you don't have the balls to do that, nothing else in your life is going to change, gentlemen. Nothing. Stop justifying and rationalizing and excusing away the behavior and the thoughts and the way you're showing up, and instead tell the truth that you're fat. Tell the truth that you're broke. Tell the truth that you're a drunk. Tell the truth that you are not a good father. Tell the truth that you've cheated on your wife. And if those things don't apply, I'm not talking to you. But if they do, tell the truth about it and be honest with yourself about it so you can grow, so you can improve. If you pull the wool over your eyes and you pretend like you're perfect and nothing's wrong with the way you're showing up, then there's no reason for you to improve. And the problem with that is that deep down in your soul, you know you're wrong. Deep down in your soul, you know there's a problem. And you know that you're willfully being ignorant to that thing. And that is going to create confidence issues. That's going to create self-esteem issues. And when you have self-esteem issues, you're not going to show up for your family, for yourself, for your employees, for your clients, for your friends, the way that you have the potential to show up. Clear the air, start from scratch. One of my favorite quotes, I'm going to paraphrase a bit. I believe it comes from Bruce Lee. He says, no, not Bruce Lee. Is it Bruce? No, I was thinking about Bruce Lee earlier. I think it comes from maybe Gandhi. I don't know. You guys are going to have to look it up. I'm all Bruce Lee to Gandhi. I don't know how I got there, but it's either one of those guys or somewhere in between. Okay. And he says, each night I go to bed and I'm paraphrasing, and I die. And when I arise in the morning, I'm reborn. Guys, today you have a clean slate. You have the opportunity to be somebody different than you were yesterday. But if you continue to fool yourself and trick yourself and hide from confrontational conversations and the things that are bothering you, then you're going to be the guy that you were yesterday. You don't want that. Nobody listening to this podcast wants to be the same person that they were yesterday. Nobody. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. You're listening because you want to get better, because you want to improve, because you want to do more in life. And so today, when you are reborn, as you wake up, Commit to telling the truth. If something's bothering you, share it. If you see something that's wrong, bring it up. If you know your behavior or your performance is less than adequate, address it, face it head on, like a man. That's what we as men do. Little boys hide and they run and they are scared and they cower. And men are scared too, right? We're afraid. We don't like to talk about it, but we are. And it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have that emotion. It's not okay to do nothing about it. Speak the truth. Share what's on your mind. Talk about the important issues. Start from objective reality in your own performance. I see a lot of guys hiding behind anonymous social media accounts. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you? Don't hide. Well, Ryan, I have to because, I might lose my job. Okay, that's a problem. You're telling me that you can't speak the truth because you're afraid you're going to lose your job? Like, just sit in that for a minute. Is that how you want to live? That you're so beholden to somebody else or getting a paycheck from somewhere else that you can't actually speak what's on your mind? What a horrible, tragic way to live your life. You might be there now. And if that's the case, do something about it so that when we talk about this next year, you aren't in that exact same position. Build up your financial, your wealth, pay off your debt so you're not beholden to credit card companies and other creditors. Make yourself sovereign. That's the book I talked about in 2017, I believe. It's make sovereignty, the battle for the hearts and minds of men. Everybody wants control over you. And if you're hiding behind anonymous Twitter accounts or social media accounts, and you can't speak what's on your mind, and you're afraid to tell your wife how you feel, and you can't have any sort of confrontational conversation with an employer or client because you're afraid of the ramifications, then you've made yourself subject to those people. And that's the antithesis to what it means to be a sovereign man. It all starts with truth, guys. And again, I'm not talking about truth with a capital T. Okay, we all have our perspectives, and sometimes they align and sometimes they don't. I'm talking about your perspective. I'm talking about the way that you feel about things. I'm talking about the lens of your own experiences in which you look through life. That's what I'm talking about. And the way you feel is reality. That's the way you feel is subjective, right? It's open to interpretation. You may be right, you may be wrong. Okay, but it's subjective, but it's still reality. You still feel that way. And it is true that you feel that way. So express yourself. Express yourself. Have the difficult conversations. Be honest with who you are and how you're showing up, and share what's on your mind. This is the path to growth. It's the only path to growth. There's a lot of work that comes after it, but this is the first step towards the path of growth. All right, guys, I think you get it. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know what you think about the show. Again, we've got that huge iTunes, Apple podcast rating and review contest going on. Not even contest, just drawing. It's not a contest. Just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast, iTunes. Take a screenshot of the rating and review. Email that screenshot to Brandy, BRANDY, at orderofman.com, and you're entered. We're doing the giveaway for the signed copy of Sovereignty, the Origin Heavy Hoodie and Origin Boots, the 50-pound pair of center mass bells by Sornex, and the Montana Knife Company MagnaCut stainless steel Speed Goat knife. I've got it sitting right over there on my desk, and I'm anxiously waiting to give it to one of you guys. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Again, tell the truth, go out there, become the man you are meant to be.